Hey there! Welcome back! Today we're going to be talking about song cycles. So I introduced this really briefly when I was talking about vocal accompanying and song repertoire, but today we're going to dive a little deeper into the topic of song cycles. So let's talk about what is a song cycle first of all. A song cycle is a set of individual songs that they're by the same composer, usually by the same poet, although occasionally there might be different poets for the different songs, and they're meant to be sung as a unit. Often the songs can stand alone as individual songs, and you'll sometimes hear individual songs from song cycles on recitals, but the composer's intent was for them to be sung as a unit, and there's usually some sort of thematic elements throughout the cycle that ties it together, either a story or a mood or a topic, something that makes it a cycle. Song cycles became popular around the beginning of the 19th century. There are examples of song cycles prior to that, but they weren't called song cycles. In fact, the term wasn't used until the mid-19th century. The first known cycle that was written as a cycle was by Beethoven. So if someone asks you what was the first song cycle, typically they're referring to Beethoven's An die ferne Geliebte. It was written in around 1815, 1816. And this cycle is actually through composed, so the songs weren't meant to stand alone. You probably could perform them individually, but they go from one song into the next. All right, we mentioned last week that Schubert is one of the most notable composers of German lieder or art songs. He wrote over 600 songs, and he also, as you might imagine, wrote some song cycles that are important and very famous. The first one that he wrote is called Die schöne Müllerin, in German, of course, and it's The Miller's Daughter, or The Fair Maid of the Mill is the title. And the story, the poetry, is about a young man who falls in love with a fair maiden at the mill. But that sounds nice and well, but it's actually a pretty dark cycle because the maid falls in love with someone else, and she doesn't love the singer, the man who's singing the song. So it's, as you'll notice with a lot of these song cycles, it's pretty morose and the poetry is pretty dark. Then this song cycle has about 20 songs in it, or it does have 20 songs in it, and so it takes about an hour to perform. So it's a pretty extensive undertaking to perform this song cycle by Schubert. The next song cycle by Schubert that I want to mention is Winterreise, which is poems on winter. And these poems were written by Wilhelm Müller, who also wrote the poems for Die schöne Müllerin that we just talked about. And Winterreise actually has 24 songs, so even more songs. Again, quite an undertaking for both the singer and the pianist. And this cycle in particular raises the importance of the piano to be equal with the voice part. Schubert uses the piano accompaniment to paint the text and to really move the drama along and portray the drama in the piano as much as in the vocal line. It's another dark, morose cycle about a man wandering in the winter time because his love is in love with someone else. So you kind of see a theme here. So those are the two most important cycles by Schubert. Then let's talk about Schumann. He has a few song cycles that I want to mention. The first is Dichte Liebe, which is translated A Poet's Love. And this cycle has 16 songs by the poet Heinrich Heine, and it was written in 1840. Oh, I was going to mention Schubert, going back to the ones we just talked about, Schubert wrote his, wait, hold on. Never mind. I get Schubert and Schumann mixed up sometimes. So, scratch that. We're moving on to Schumann. Dichterliebe, yes. Written in 1840. Another rather morose cycle, but it's actually one of my favorites. I've played it a few times with the baritone, and it's just a really, really wonderful cycle. Lots of text painting, and again, Schumann uses the piano to show the drama. He uses the he has a piano postlude at the very end of the cycle. It's pretty extensive if you listen to it, and it comes from a previous song, so he brings back that theme later on to close the cycle. Schumann really uses the piano in a phenomenal way in this cycle to paint the text and to show the meaning of the poetry. The next cycle that I want to talk about is Schumann's Frauenliebe und Leben. This one isn't, it's not as long, and it's not as, I would say it's not as popular, but I really like it because it's from a woman's point of view, which, as you know, in the 19th century, that wasn't as common to have poetry from a woman's point of view. So it was also written in 1840, and that was Schumann's Year of Song is what it's called, because he wrote numerous Lieder during that year. He wrote both of these song cycles, Dichterliebe and Frauenliebe und Leben, and then he also wrote 2 Liederkreis song cycles, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute here. So all of those were written in 1840, Schumann's Year of Song. But back to Frauenliebe und Leben, it has 8 songs in it, so a little shorter, and it goes through the stages of a young woman's life from falling in love to getting married to having a child, and then the death of her husband. So again, it's tragic at the end, but there's some really beautiful songs throughout the cycle. So if you choose to listen to this one, I think that you'll enjoy it. And he really uses the piano independently from the voice in this song cycle to set the tone and the mood of the songs. And then Schumann also wrote 2 song cycles called Liederkreis, and there's Liederkreis Opus 24 and Opus 39. I'm not as familiar with these as song cycles, but I often hear individual songs performed from these cycles. So often on a recital program, you'll see the name of a song and it'll say from Liederkreis, either Opus 24 or 39. I believe 39 is more commonly done. So I've played a number of the individual songs, but not the full cycle. So that's a really quick overview of some of the most important song cycles. I know this was a shorter video this week, but I just thought I would give you a little overview. And then for your assignment this week, you're going to be choosing one song cycle from the list that I put in Blackboard, and choose one song cycle to listen to. And there's an assignment. It tells you what to do, a little bit of background information on the cycle, and then be prepared to share with the class what you listened to and some of your thoughts about it. I didn't talk about all of the cycles that are on the list. I think there's an English cycle on there as well. So if you choose that one, you can share with us a little of the background information for that. But I encourage you to especially listen to how the composer uses the piano throughout the cycle. You'll hear that in all of these song cycles, the piano is not just accompaniment, it's not just support, it actually plays a really vital role. So I challenge you to see what you can come up with to share with the class this week. Thank you.